Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Justin Crozier. I'm going to take this thing out of my ear. I'm the owner and proprietor of Crozier Law, and wanted to talk with you today about a few different things. Most of what I do focuses on criminal defense. That's just the majority of my practice is criminal stuff. And the criminal stuff that I like to do are the cases, things people like to do for fun. Things that I listed in this video. Guns, drugs, drinking, prostitution. Those are the cases that I think are the most interesting, and I think they're also the cases that people have the best possibility of getting a real good result. The reason I say that is because usually those crimes they tend to peak at kind of like a C-level felony for the worst. That's usually the drug cases, is a C-level felony. And C-level felonies tend to be around maximum of like a 7-year or so time frame is what you're usually looking at. Now, that's not always the case. You can get, if you've got distribution charges, you've got manufacturing charges, if you have a lot of drugs, then it can actually go up to an A-level felony, and that can be pretty serious. The main thing that I wanted to talk about is, so I guess from my personal philosophy, the reason that I like those crimes is it's kind of my political ideology. I feel like people should be able to kind of do what they want to do for the most part. You know, I don't think that people should be able to murder folks, but I think if you're not hurting anybody else, then, it's fine. Do what you want to do. I mean, you can ruin your own life if you'd like to. If you like to carry around a gun, but you're not shooting other people, no big deal. If, you like to have a couple drinks, but you're not crashing into people, then you're doing fine. If you and another adult decide that you consent and you're fine, paying the other person for companionship, that's not really my business, not really anybody's business. So those are cases that I like to deal with. They're the cases that I think are the most interesting, and I think they have the most room to get people a good result. I wanted to talk about for a little bit some of the specific areas that I tend to find these things. Most of my solicitation cases, I would say, that's the prostitution cases, tend to come from Kansas City. And in Kansas City, what you'll find is that they've got a program that's called Diversion. And what Diversion is, that is basically an opportunity for you to go in. You can, if you stay out of trouble for a few months, and you're a first-time offender, you haven't gotten in trouble before, then they have you pay a little bit of a fine, you go take a couple classes, and then they dismiss the case, so you don't have a criminal record. And to me, especially for first-time offenders on all of these charges, for drug charges, for prostitution, for drinking, all that stuff, one of the most important things that I can do as your attorney is to try and keep your record clean. Sometimes that means that we have to go to trial. Sometimes that means that it's best to take a plea bargain. The reason for that is and I've talked about this before when I'm talking about probation, is that there are a few different ways that you can get something taken off of your record. One is that the case is just dismissed. Maybe I get together some evidence, I produce it, I give it to the prosecutor, and they say, yeah, no, this is nothing, nothing to see here, you're right, let's just dismiss the case, your client's fine. All right, great, that's a great result. I love it when that happens. The other way to do it is diversion or probation, which, I've talked probation at least once in videos, and I know that I've talked about it on my website, on my blog. But SIS probation is a great way to keep from having a criminal record, to keep that off, so that they eventually dismiss the charge, which, I think is great. So the reason that with drug charges specifically that I want to keep your record clean is that if you're a young person, like 17 years old, you're technically an adult as far as Missouri is concerned. So you're an adult, you're going to go to adult crime courtroom, and you're going to be charged as an adult, and you're going to have a criminal record. If you just straight up plead to the charge, you say, you know what, I'm going to get hit with a couple $100 fine, no big deal. I'll just pay it. It's better to do that than it is to pay an attorney. I'm not going to stress about it. Let's just pay this thing and move on with our life. Well, what you don't realize is that the next year, you're 17 years old, you're about to go to college. So you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to go to college, no big deal. A lot of people, smoke pot in college, who cares? No, colleges clearly don't care. Well, the colleges probably don't care. But if it's between you and someone who does not have a possession charge on your record, or if you're talking about your kids and your kids are, you're looking out for your children who are about to go to college, and it comes between them and it comes between someone who does not have a drug possession charge, well, your kid's ranking just went down. That's the first problem. The second problem is that according to the Federal Financial Student Aid Records, FAFSA, that if you have a drug record, you may not qualify for student aid. It's a real serious issue, and especially for young people, children may get put into a position where they don't have a choice. They don't get the option of getting to go to college now. Their life has now been set down a path that they cannot correct. And getting that stuff fixed early and correctly is so important. The same thing with a solicitation charge, to be honest with you, that if you get, certainly if you're, 18, 19 years old, you're going to school, something like that, you're on a scholarship, and then you get picked up for a solicitation charge, oh my goodness. Or if you're, if you're a woman and you're picked up with a solicitation charge, it's a huge problem, especially if it ends up being a repeat thing. Those all have to be dealt with correctly. And it's not necessarily that expensive to get it dealt with correctly the first time, especially if you're in Kansas City and you're just looking for a diversion charge. It's not necessarily that expensive. You just have to make sure that you do what the program says to do, and that you don't go deviating and getting yourself in trouble, go out again and get caught the same way again. Don't do that. That's bad news. Toe the line for like 6 months. Then if you get in trouble again, well, you're not going to get diversion again, but we can still fix it. Don't worry, it'll be fine. So those I think are some of the most important things. As far as gun charges go, for most of us, we don't. I'm not going to get in trouble for carrying a gun around. I can do it. We're in Missouri. You can carry a gun around. You can carry it concealed. You can carry it open. I'm actually going to talk about that topic more later. Actually, maybe even later this week, because I've missed posting videos for the past couple weeks, so I'm making up for it this week. I'm doing one today, I'm doing one Wednesday, I'm going to do one Friday just to get myself caught back up. So at some point I'll talk about those gun issues of what it really means to be able to do open carry in Missouri right now, and how that translates over to Kansas potentially, and what that means for your rights to carry a gun. But for most of us, we don't have to worry about that. Now, you might be someone who already is on probation. And maybe one of the rules for probation is you don't get to carry a gun. Or maybe you're 17 years old and you're not old enough to carry a gun. Or maybe you're a felon and you can never carry a gun until we get that felony expunged, potentially. We'll talk about expungements sometime too. But if you are a person who's not supposed to have a gun and you do have a gun, that can range. Those problems can range anywhere from probation, where no big deal, maybe a weekend in jail, something like that, up to if you're looking at a federal charge for having a gun while you're also selling your drugs and you're using your gun in the transaction, well, you're looking at 5 years to if you've done that multiple times, 25 years or more. Those gun charges at federal court are very exciting for the U.S. attorney, but not for my clients. Those are very, very difficult charges, and they stick around hard. And as far as so that you can run the gamut on those, and hopefully, if you're a felon, we hope that we can. If you're not doing anything else bad other than just having the gun, there's a good chance we can just get rid of that charge. I mean, there's a good possibility, or at least get it reduced down, extend probation, whatever, and hopefully you're not going to be getting in any more trouble. The last thing that we were talking about is drinking. Usually that comes in a couple of forms, the drinking trouble. DWIs, which are very common, and very defeatable too, by the way. And also public intoxication is an issue that, people run into occasionally. And the last side of it is that you got in trouble doing something while you were drunk. Like you got drunk, you went up to the casino, you had a great time, decided to leave, saw someone's car and thought, it would be fun jumping through their window. That'll get you in trouble, believe it or not. And that has happened before. I've had that case and got it dealt with. The guy's doing fine. So those are the main ways that I see people getting into trouble with these, charges for things, doing things that are fun. You shouldn't get in trouble for that stuff. Come on. It's just, drugs, drinking, prostitution, guns, no big deal. It's a good time. If you have any questions, I've gotten a couple of questions from people. I haven't had a chance to address those. They've come in some private messages. I've also gotten some on my page. If you have any additional questions, I would ask you to come to my page, send me a message, however you want to do it. Just let me know, and I'd love to answer those questions, talk about them on here when I have a little bit of time and when I'm not talking about, some of the other subjects that I'm looking at. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Justin Crozier, Crozier Law LLC. You can check out my website, check out my Facebook page, and until then, good luck. Good luck out there.